For me personally, as long as there's someone in this world next to you that doesn't have the bare bone minimum of food, water, health, great, just the basic necessities of life to live a good life, then there's something wrong.
This is not a simplistic field. This isn't let's just generate funds, and insert it against a problem. This is something that takes a lot of really smart people working very hard over a very long period of time, and that it's really exciting stuff. Nourish International's mission is to engage college students and empower communities to eradicate poverty.
Poverty is an enormous problem in the world today. 3 billion people around the world live on less than $2 a day. 25,000 people die every day because they are too poor to feed themselves. It's something that is powerful to realize how much suffering there really is in the world, and the relative nature of inequality between the developed world and the developing world is just enormous.
We've been trying to attack this issue for over 50 years now. And in some countries, rates have gone down. However, poverty still persists in very large numbers. And I think it's pretty much agreed upon that, hey, we haven't done well enough. We have to ask ourselves, why haven't previous plans worked? What do we need to do differently with our generation? What do we need to do differently in our time? And I think something that most people would agree to is that we need to build a global partnership for development, and that we have to recognize that the people on the ground are going to be the ones who are developing their own communities and their own countries. With that in mind, we as young individuals, as youth, as college students, have a very crucial role to play.
And so what has inspired me about Nourish is that we address specific needs, and we look at trying to find the best ways to achieve them, and the best ways to provide services to people and support the organizations that are doing good.
We've essentially established 2 organizational components to drive this movement. The first is the national office, whose job it is to coordinate the various efforts that are going on at all of our chapters. The chapters compose the second segment, and they are the engines that really drive what we're doing. At the chapter level, there is an executive board that oversees all of the chapter's operations, which is really broken down into 2 parts. The first is every chapter runs ventures during the year, essentially sustainable small business ventures on their campus to generate funds and members and awareness for what Nourish is doing. The second is, in parallel to this, we have a group of students on an international projects committee at every chapter that selects the international development projects that we're going to be working on.
Entering communities is always a challenge, and you have to build trust, you have to build good relationships, and I just saw Nourish doing that in the way they plan their projects.
Nourish really aims to work with communities both in planning and on the ground, because we really like for the communities to have ownership of their projects, so that when we leave, we haven't created a dependency on either us or our partner organizations, and the project is more likely to sustain itself because the community members themselves have played a major part in creating it. Nourish students will have a meaningful role, but they will not be taking job opportunities away from local paid workers. When I was a freshman, I led a Nourish project to Uganda with about 10 student volunteers. And we worked with an organization called the Full Belly Project to establish a production facility for a hand-powered peanut sheller. The significance of this peanut sheller is that it's appropriate technology, and that there are 500 million people in the world that rely on peanuts as their primary source of protein. And women and children can spend up to 8 hours a day painfully shelling these nuts by hand. So this machine was able to reduce the amount of time that they spent shelling nuts and add value to the product, as well as provide job opportunities for locally paid workers. So that ensured for the sustainability of the project. The overall excitement of the community was evident in the groups that we were able to gather for our demonstrations of the sheller. We always had masses of children and men and women who came to see and learn about the peanut sheller and how it worked.
It was a very low budget project, about $1,800, and they started 2 chicken coop businesses in 2 different villages. Actually, the idea was also novel because they brought in a rooster, a European rooster, so the chicks were actually hybrid chicks and they would produce more eggs. The idea of starting this business is both, like a global health issue and also an entrepreneurial issue. The business obviously will give the local residents revenue. They can, sell the eggs in the market, and it's also, sustenance as food for the growers. So I think Nourish combines the entrepreneurship and the global health issues really well.
We're searchers. We're trying to search and find out how we can, give something to communities abroad and at your university in order to, create value, bring things to people that need them. Hunger Lunch is a great example. People want cheap food that gives them, a feeling of doing well in the world, and Nourish provides it, and it provides it consistently.
Hunger Lunch, as a venture, every Wednesday we do a $3 plate, and it's all you can eat of rice, beans, and cornbread. And it was how Nourish International started, so it's like the staple of Nourish International at UNC. It's a really exciting time. It's in the pit, which is a central location on campus where hundreds of people pass every day. It's a great place to advertise for our other ventures as well. We're also now extending, we're going to start selling crafts at Hunger Lunch from other countries. We're going to ask people that are traveling abroad to maybe invest in a couple things to bring back and sell on campus. So it's actually turning out to be a benefit, and we're going to keep expanding off of it.
It's a very viral feeling once you get involved in Nourish International, and once you get the feeling of accomplishment and learn exactly what you're doing for the world. When you see the results of what your project in the summer has actually had, the impact of that is monumental. And when you get to see that the resources you created throughout the school year and you went and implemented that project yourself, the feeling is incredible, and the feeling is even second to the actual work that it's done for that community. So I would advise anyone that has a motivation in life to do something better, not only for themselves but for the world, to start a Nourish International chapter, because everyone will want to be a part of it, and you'll want everyone to be a part of it with you.